Good to go?
I think she
Good.
just showed up. I think she's on the top.
Yep. Stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Now, Economic Development Committee presentation. Is that George?
And that's Jan.
Jan, sorry.
It's
See
Jan
George
and
is there.
George up there. Jan and George.
Yep, okay. You're up.
Maybe they can't hear us.
No, we're unmuted. Jan, can you hear us?
Jan's muted.
Jan, bottom left of your corner. Yeah.
There he goes.
There we go. All right.
You're up front and center with your presentation.
So Julie had asked the question in terms of, I think kind of a general question in terms of how can we attract business or new business to Waldoboro? And of course, we're the Economic Development Committee, so we've been working on various ideas for some time now. Well, one of the things that we did, and we issued, I think about a year, maybe 2 years ago now, was a brochure, which was basically, doing business in Waldoboro. And it was a brochure that was designed to say, why should you move your business to Waldoboro? And I don't know, Max, if you are able to put that up on the screen for folks to see.
Sorry, Jan, I don't have the PDF on me right now, but if you want to keep going, I can go grab some for.
The brochure right there, the one with all the businesses.
Yeah, I can go
Okay.
grab some to give to everyone.
I think that would be good if you could. Thank you.
Good help.
But the after, I promise you, maybe hundreds of hours of back and forth, we really came up with the idea that Waldoboro was the hub of Mid-Coast Maine. And it really is in a number of ways. And you think in terms of just our physical location, but also in terms of, in a kind of neat way, all roads kind of lead to Waldoboro. And so we really tried to kind of sell that point in our approach. And so obviously, if you want to move your business to Waldoboro, and you need to have access not only to Waldoboro, but certainly all of Maine and beyond, this would be a great place to do that from. The other thing that we really tried to focus on were the kind of businesses that already had success in Waldoboro. So I know George is on the line, so maybe George, you could just spend a minute and talk about aquaculture within Waldoboro, what the potential really is.
Yeah, up at the business park, and the planning board in that room approved the plan, and it hasn't broken ground yet. It's almost broken ground. Is the business that would like to buy elders and grow them out to eels so they wouldn't have to go to Japan to be sent back to Portland. The lady, Sarah Redemaker, who some of you have met or seen, it has already been growing the eels and selling them and smoking them. And I mean, it's an established business that just needs a place to grow to. And COVID delayed the groundbreaking, but it's a business that's ready to go, and it's a matter of going to the next step where excavators appear. That and the well at the park is a real asset for a business like that needs water. The other thing that's going on there is there's a business that's trying to grow oysters in tanks. And that's a little bit complementary. Well, both of them are actually complementary or have interconnections with our seaweed processing business, in the sense that some of the waste streams from those other aquaculture businesses become inputs to things we do. So it's not gonna be right away, but there really is the opportunity for more land-based aquaculture in Waldoboro, and those two businesses, assuming they both get traction and go, will be a real, they'll get people's attention. We've also got all the solar power that's being put out on the North Waldoboro Road. There's the one that's already up, and then the other one, and we will probably be doing a deal at the park for some of that electricity. Sorry about my head, there it is. Yes, that's seaweed behind me. So anyway, it's all quite positive. And the other seaweed company in Waldoboro is doing well. We're doing well. The COVID problem hasn't hurt us because our customers, you know, they make fertilizer in Idaho. So we've been very lucky with respect to our business and the impact of COVID. But yeah, the idea of these aquaculture opportunities and the state, everybody knows that land-based aquaculture is going to be something important going forward. So to that extent, we're well positioned in Waldoboro, and we've got a lot of the natural advantages based on this location, both being near the ocean and the river, and there could even be a clam operation going on there if we wanted to. So there's all kinds of ways we can connect to what Waldoboro already is and could become.
All right, thank you, George. So, and then, of course, the other area that we focused on a little bit was the art community within Waldoboro and the galleries and some of the amazing artists that we have here. Of course, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to do either the art walk or some of those kinds of events that normally attract an awful lot of folks into our town to spend money. But, you know, I think there is a little, hopefully the folks here would agree that there's a glimmer of light maybe at the end of the tunnel. And maybe even this year, certainly early next year, we'd be in a position that we could start doing those sorts of programs again, including, of course, Paint the Town, which is near and dear to my heart. And we would just love to get that going again. But that's kind of been our approach. The last couple of meetings that we've had a focus on Waldoboro-owned properties and what the opportunity is, either attract business, sell the property to get some income. What can we do with those properties? Can we turn them into parks? Can we, what's the opportunity? And we're kind of at an early stage right now on that, but that's kind of what the committee's focused on right now. And I don't know if Max is back yet with that PDF. That would be great if he was.
I think he may have passed out some brochures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay.
Yes, he did.
So that's good. So so I'm going to kind of throw it out there. Are there any questions? Or first of all, is there anybody else on the Economic Development Committee that's on that would like to say something? I see Jen's on.
I didn't have anything to add. I thought you and George did pretty good. We have assets. We've been talking about our town assets, infrastructure assets, and things like that our business would be looking for, as well as in the brochure that we put together. We had assets in there that even people looking for a new home or something, or where to raise their family, might be interested in. Who knows, after maybe when the day comes when the pandemic has left us, maybe, hopefully, maybe we'll find that we have other assets we could, maybe there's other types of businesses that might want to spread out, since so many people are leaving cities and moving because of remote work. We have got that really good fiber line right up Route 1 that we're not able to take full advantage of yet. That's a big asset. and could definitely attract a technological company. Hopefully, that would be kind of cool. Even the things I've been reading about, which, you know, just as reading, is that how distribution is going regional. And many big corporations are looking for regional places that they can place new warehouses and so forth to do distribution from, as well as restaurants banding together in other places and creating a mutual distribution place, a mutual kitchen, big kitchen that they distribute or deliver or even hold for pickup things for people. And Waldoboro has a lot of privately owned property that, you know, has been on the market for years and years, that is available right along Route 1 and very close to other big roads. So I think we have assets that I would hope would be in demand in the future. You know, maybe when people start thinking differently about how they're gonna live their lives and develop businesses. Who knows? Yeah, be a good thing.
One quick thing that's much less exciting and technical, but some of the same resources involved in either growing eels or oysters would be pretty easy to have a clam hatchery, so we didn't have to buy clam seed elsewhere, just as a thought.
So a couple other things. On the brochure, you'll see that one of the things that we like to talk about is that Waldoboro is just a great place to raise a family. And so not only do we want to attract businesses to Waldoboro, like George is doing, we're talking about doing, but also, like Jen mentioned, having folks move here and work out of a home office. So like, I think a lot of you know that that's kind of how I got to Waldoboro. So I worked for a company that's headquartered in Chicago, but I had my scope of responsibility was national, and they basically said you could live anywhere in the country you want to live. And so naturally I picked Waldoboro, right? So a great place to live, great place to raise a family, and like Jen mentioned with the fiber, great place for a home office. So that's really, if you read through the brochure, that's kind of the message.
I think we have one more opportunity that we, as an asset for both families and for a business, and that is our farms and food production. And we're very fortunate with what we have here, and that could become, if the people who are working on this statewide and regionally, if they can develop a regional food distribution center for local foods, which has been a goal in Maine for a long time, it's a good thing. And Waldoboro has some great farms and food.
Totally agree.
Did you have a question, Jeff?
I'm just saying that's a hard one to sell. Like, hey, come here because we have fiber. That's a tough sell to get people to come buy houses here. Because as you said, you could have chose any place in the USA. So that's a hard one to hinge on. This is what we're gonna do to develop our town. Let's just hope people buy something here. That's tricky. I mean, we have the internet. Cool. So that's. So
Read through the brochure.
Okay.
So, yeah, we have internet, that's great, but we have reasonably priced real estate. We have a great town, great place, great location if you like the outdoors, if you like sailing, if you like fishing, if you like hiking, all those wonderful activities. You know, obviously the town of Waldoboro is so much more than just fiber, but the fiber is an important thing, because if you want a home office, you want to be able to edit films or download files or do any of those sorts of things, you need it. And so that's a real advantage. Some of the other towns that are like Waldoboro in the area that may not have them.
One of the other things, because of the pandemic, and I think it's already been in the paper a bit, real estate values have all jumped up because people would like to move to Maine where you don't have such an epidemic. And relative to the other areas along the coast, same as it's been for the past 50 years that I know of, I think we are very competitive. I think the services, the taxes, the real estate itself, if somebody is trying to escape to Maine, maybe that's a brochure, escape to Maine, we're going to be a good candidate.
Saran?
I do have a question, and that is probably to Jan, and that is, could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in terms of the brochure, how you're getting the brochure out there, and are you doing anything electronically? Are you buying time on Facebook or anything like that?
Right, that's a really good question, and probably it's one area that we haven't done as good a job as maybe we could have. But I could tell you that the minute you leave that room, if you look to the right in the little area there where all the brochures are, hopefully you'll be able to see it there. So you can get one by coming to the town office. Also, if you go to the town website, it's there. So, we probably haven't done as good a job as distributing as maybe we could have, but it is available.
I think that the town website had been, over these actually multiple years, I think it's fairly recently that it's really been upgraded over the last 6 months. I think if we came out with that brochure now, I suspect it would have more of a place on the town website featured, maybe, just because it's a better website now.
Does the board have anything?
Jan, did you want to mention anything about the Economic Development Administration program we've been talking about, the downtown master plan?
Right, so actually, you know what, Max, why don't you go ahead and give us an overview, because we kind of give you advice along the way, but you guys are kind of critical in running that. So why don't you go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, just give us an overview.
So the Economic Development Administration, for the EDA, is a federal program that allows a municipality to get some federal funding to help with some major public works projects. You may be familiar with what's happening down in Damerscott with their waterfront project. That is an EDA project. The goal is to do one here in Waldoboro. What we would be doing is sort of a mishmash of different little side projects that we've been envisioning in Waldoboro ever since the downtown master plan was incorporated back in 2011. And obviously we want to update it with some plans that haven't been fully realized yet, and obviously not doing the ones that have already been addressed. This is pretty much for any project that's between the Route 1 area and the Main Street area. So, for example, extending some utility lines, either along West Main Street or on Route 1. This can include water, sewer, as well as town fiber. Improving off-street parking capabilities, and potentially, fingers crossed, a Riverwalk type project that we can use going from River Street all the way down to the Pine Street landing. I know that was something that was attempted before I got on board, but that's something that we can hopefully do with the EDA project. That's the summary, essentially, of it all. The finer details are still being worked out with the EDC, and hopefully we'll have something that we can get forward sometime later this year.
And I think we identified, Max, I'm going on memory here, but maybe 5 potential projects. Is that about right?
Oh, you're talking when we first talked about it, like before COVID, right?
Yeah.
Right. We were looking at 4 different project areas. This was 4 different ideas we could do for EDA project. One was the downtown master plan, implementing that. The second was to extend the sewer and water lines along either Winslow's Mills or on Depot Street and Cross Street, so we can get some town utilities to the industrial park, so we can have more capabilities for doing some land-based aquaculture. The third was, I believe, it was I'm trying to think what the third one was. It was, I think it was the same thing, but on Manktown. The details are foggy. It was the third one we didn't really have too much time thinking about. And then the fourth one was to create some workforce training area in Waldeboro, which again was a bit of a tough sell at the time, and we didn't know if we could have the space to do it. But that was discussed back, I think that was the first year I was here. We were talking about those four, if I'm correct. The downtown master plan, implementing that was just something that we've been talking more about lately and seemed to be the one that the EDC wanted to go forward with.
So board have any questions? Go ahead, Bob.
If I could just make a comment.
Well, hold on, George. Bob was going to say something.
Sorry,
Sorry.
I'll defer to whoever was talking.
You were first.
Am I first?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say, working as a committee during COVID has been impossible. We can't get together. We can't sit around a table. We have been having Zoom meetings at 7 o'clock at night for the last couple of months, and that's helped a lot. But the committee is in the process now of trying to reorganize and reestablish a consistency of schedules that allows us more efficiently to do the work that the committee wants to do. And I just want to say thank you to all the committee members for putting in the time and effort that they have put in over the years, and I know we'll continue to put in to bring some of these projects to fruition. So thank you.
What I was going to do was just ask Jen if she knows off the top of her head how many members there are to the Waldeboro Business Association. I think that's a bigger group than you realize.
We have 85 usually, year by year, and we've gotten a bunch of new businesses that have signed up this year, amazingly, which is also a nice thing. So we're trying to work out, right now I'm trying to work out I guess you would call it a promotion ad campaign for the next couple months with John Jensen of the Free Press to see if there's something we might be able to do to offer businesses a way of letting people know that they are open and how to contact them. It's the midwinter doldrums at this point. And so as everybody knows, winters are tough anyway to get through, but this year with people staying home, it can be much more difficult for businesses to get what they need in terms of foot traffic.
Colonel, do you have anything?
I was just going to ask you, are there any hot prospects in the queue right now? Do you have any businesses that have made contact saying, yeah, we're thinking about coming to Waldeboro? Is there anybody like that?
I've actually been getting a few calls of that.
Have you?
Yeah. In fact, just today I had someone who called who was asking for a woodworking business.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you guys off.
Thank you.
And we actually had a meeting at 1 today with a existing business in town looking to expand and hopefully reopening a business that was closed.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
Jan, anything?
Have you guys considered or talked about branding Waldeboro at all?
Branding in what sense?
Branding, like what is Waldeboro? When you think of Waldeboro, what do you think of? What's the one thing that pops into your mind? Rockland is the lobster capital.
There's Jan. It's tricky because I think we have to reinvent our identity. You know, over the years, we've gone from the shipbuilding capital.
Yeah.
There was that period of 2 years, I think, when the WBA was trying to rebrand us as the clam capital. Remember when Karen had I can't remember the gentleman's name, who built all those clam pots, and then she got the businesses in town to put flowers in them outside their businesses, and then we had that big giant clam pot in front of the town office for a couple of years, and businesses would decorate that. That was one attempt.
I mean, has there been any talks since then?
And only when we were doing the brochure. The brochure was one of those things where what's in the brochure, and I guess, that film that was made, the video that was made.
Yeah.
About Waldeboro, that was an attempt. It mostly that video focuses on business and lifestyle, it looked like to me, in a way. Local small businesses and lifestyle. But I think, and remember, we did the visioning thing years and years ago, where everybody tried to figure out, our identity.
Yep.
Or was that in 2010?
Just nothing since then, though. I know you use the 5-masted schooner, and that's been, that has been a brand for Waldeboro for some time.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't relate at this point to anything that's real. It's the past, it's history, and I think people were looking for something that could be something more current, Not to let go of the history, that's not what anybody means, but people have been looking for a different, maybe a newer identity.
I think the history side is wonderful to attract tourists into town. Maybe we build a 5-masted schooner down on the water and make that like a museum or something, I don't know. But to me, still, if you say, what do I think of when I think of Waldeboro? It's the hub of mid-coast Maine. It's like the perfect answer. So if you want to brand us, I think you brand us as being central to mid-coast Maine, easy access to all locations.
It might be time for a new discussion on, on branding Waldeboro. Thanks.
I think it's always a good time for that discussion.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Until we figure something out that sticks, that people can buy into, right?
Right.
I mean, obviously the clam pots didn't work, so,
Well, we've talked about the clam side of it, Jan, quite a bit. And, the challenge is, where do you get a clam in Waldeboro?
You get it on Jefferson Street.
There's no place to actually get a fish or clam.
What's your number?
So, you can
Number,
talk
Jefferson.
about
I saw clams.
farming and digging for clams, but I'm not sure how that's an attraction.
but you can get clams.
You can now.
You can buy a bag of clams.
No, the Narrows and Moody's.
Delano Seafood.
17 years,
Yeah.
just roughly.
I don't know if is that a true statement now?
They may not, I'm
I'll
sure
deliver
that
some to you.
eventually.
Yeah,
if
we-
you ask-
Wow.
I've seen mussels at Narrows, but I haven't seen clams.
They're
But I
there.
could be wrong.
Yeah, we've got the owner right here. He's the guy in the know.
Many years, many years.
Well, anybody get anything else for the EDC?
I have a
Yes,
little
sorry, Katie.
comment to make.
Go ahead.
Instead of waiting for people to come here, is there any way we can reach out to businesses to entice them to come here?
Recruit, maybe?
Go the other direction instead of waiting for someone. Maybe we could reach out to businesses that maybe would like to come here. Reach out that way.
Max does do that to some extent. I know he's had, I'll let Max speak for himself.
I think that's a great idea, though. I mean, one of the things we certainly could do is have our brochures put out at different locations, maybe along the thruway or something like that, where they would get more exposure, maybe. But yeah, that's an interesting idea. I think that's a really good thought.
We could also use the fiber we've been talking about, since that may be a little easier method than paper brochures to people. I mean, we were just bragging about having fiber, we could do that maybe, to get that out to people more than handing out brochures to people. I don't know if that would be, I haven't seen it work yet, maybe, I don't know. I've been waiting.
Did you have anything, Abden?
No, there's one other thing I'd like to mention regarding approaching people to come here, and that is that there was a time when we had an exhibit that we would put at trade shows. And I don't know where that is now. It's around somewhere. But that certainly, as we evolve and get out of this pandemic that we've been in, we might come together with a list of trade shows that we ought to be attending as a municipality, promoting the town. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Okay.
And I think there was a line item budget for that as well. At one, this goes way back to the time of Patrick.
That's like 8-10 years ago, probably?
Sorry?
8-10 years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to touch on something too, is branding clams and stuff like that, where it's been so difficult, and I've had multiple discussions with Jen and other people, is clams are running a cycle. And that's what the Shellfish Committee has been working vigorously on, is to break that cycle. Every 7 years, you have a turnaround. So you'll have 2 or 3 good years, and then you'll have 2 or 3 bad years. And the Shellfish Committee has been looking at that, and we've gone in some crazy directions as far as we're building floats. We're gonna have our own, theoretically, clam hatcheries in the river producing their own, and putting floats in the river so the adult clams will reproduce and just break that cycle that we have and produce millions upon millions upon millions of seed naturally without having to spend a huge amount of money for a hatchery. So we're gonna have our own, these are all experiments, nobody's ever done this before. We've actually got the University of Maine interested, we got other towns interested to see if this will really work. But I think before we can brand clams for Waldoboro as being a sustainable resource, we've got to break that cycle.
So before we sell Madomic Waldoboro clams, you have to make sure you have
You have to make sure you have that supply for the demand. Yep.
That's a great idea, but we also have a lot of other people and a lot of other businesses as well, you know, just besides clamming and aquaculture. There's a lot of other facets we have to really pay attention to it as well. Not everybody wants to get here because of those 2 reasons. It seems like those are good for a certain sector of people, for sure, but it leaves out a majority of that. Just as a matter of fact. I mean, would we have 260 clam diggers, right?
There's not quite that many, not anymore. But,
and then,
but those clam diggers support the businesses in town, so.
200 people?
Yep.
Do you have any, what businesses were you thinking of? Did you have other ideas?
We're talking about aquaculture, which is great. And
yeah.
I was an aquaculture major.
Yep.
As well as, and clams, which is fantastic as well. But a lot of people, if we remember what we just mentioned, people coming here because they can come here remotely and work, those weren't associated with that. So therefore, if we're gonna bring people here, perhaps we should, I don't know.
Now, did you have an idea, something in mind, or
million
just?
ideas, Jane.
Oh, yeah.
Millions.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know if you had something specific.
I could name one. Would you like me to name one?
We did ask for an example.
Oh, I off the top of my head, let's think, something like that's more infrastructure based to give incentive to businesses to come here. I mean, real estate alone, I mean, people can buy real estate anywhere, land anywhere. That's neither here and there. And people do have to drive through here, sure. So like Wiscasset could be a hub, like a lot of towns here. What could be another business here? I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it's tough telling.
I always thought there could be a food distribution center here. And actually, it goes to what Jan was saying in terms of us being a hub, because you've got a straight shot up to Route 17. You have a straight shot up north to Belfast, to Camden, Belfast, and south too. But that hasn't, I think, because of our infrastructure, and I think, Bob, you and I have had this conversation in the past, we have a difficult time expanding on Route 1 heading north.
We do.
Up to Route 17. I'm sorry, Route 90. Excuse me. Yeah. So that would be one place to develop if we could do it.
That goes back to what Max was talking about,
Yeah.
about the EDA
Yeah,
project.
exactly.
Right,
Because
yeah.
that was originally gonna be off of Manktown Road. And remember, it was gonna, it was gonna run parallel
to Route 1.
parallel to Route 1
Yeah.
to Manktown.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was that was that third one that you can
Yeah.
remember, Max.
But to finish, I can't tell, like, we always get together, it seems like in all these groups, like 10 years ago when we're actually in your building, the downtown master plan, that was part of.
We still have it, you want me to break it out?
No, I'm good, that was a part of that stuff.
Here's some ideas
But
on
like, we're too busy saying like, we need this and we can have this and we can have this, that's fantastic, but we can't just like say we need this and then these people are gonna magically show up. We all can say what we probably need and what the town would be better having, that's great, but we have to make it incentive based, I think. Maybe give someone some sort of tax break for 2 years or something like that.
That's
Draw
what
some sort of
Biddeford did
business.
to change around their whole town, is they
And
gave
they're like one of
all
the
those
biggest growing
businesses,
states and towns
they
in
gave
Maine.
them incentives to stay and try to open a business. And then, it's, quite the fruity little town now. You have a lot of, but they were drawn there because of town incentives given to them.
But I mean, otherwise.
And that really turned around the town and also the real estate prices. So maybe you have to decide what business you want and try to give them incentives to be here.
All right. Well, does anybody else get anything to say? Do you want to close out the EDC presentation?
Jan, are you all set?
Well, so the other quick thing, you're all invited at any time to call in to any of our EDC meetings and give us your views, your perspective, and direction. So please feel free to join our meetings as well.
Thank
you. Well, thank you. If everyone's all set. I guess we're all set, Max. EDC, cool. I guess we'll move along. You all set? Okay, all right. Adjustments to the agenda.
You have your ordinance.
The Shellfish Committee had a meeting last Thursday, and one of the committee members asked a question about our residence requirements in our ordinance. It's only 90 days to get a shellfish license. Most towns around us are a year or even 2 years. This last cycle, we had licenses left over. There was a couple individuals that had only been in the town for 3 months, and they were lucky enough to get a license. Some of the members felt that maybe we should increase that to a year like most towns around us, so they're actually a resident for an extended period of time versus 90 days to get a license. And Julie was at the meeting, so she said we could do that and get this in and get it on the ballot for hopefully June. And I'd like to be able to I guess I just kind of discussed the overview of it anyways, so if somebody.
You just have to set a public hearing.
Yeah, yeah.
So you could add that to the.
But if we could add that to agenda to set a public hearing to set this up.
You want to do that at the next meeting, Abden?
Sure.
It would be better if we did it now. That way we're not running.
To set the meeting.
Sorry,
Set the meeting date.
Set the meeting date.
Set a meeting date.
If you want to just do that.
And that's basically what this is, just for the agenda, so.
Right.
Yep. So if somebody would like to make a motion to add that to new business is 9.3.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, we'll move along to citizens' comments.
Oh, here I am again.
Saran, can you stand so that
I can
everybody can hear you on Zoom?
stand, yes, happy to. So, let's put this here. So, good evening. My name is Saran Pine. As you may know, this is the third time I have come before the Select Board concerning the proposed in-town park for the A.D. Gray property and adjacent parcels. And I'm coming back to you tonight because I have some more information concerning the park project, and I want to be placed on the agenda so that we can have a response from the Select Board. Since I last came before you, I think that was December 22nd, some citizens have come together and we have formed the A.D. Gray Park Coalition, also called the A.D. Gray Park Group. This group wants the Select Board to offer the citizens of Waldoboro the choice of having an in-town park to be located on the A.D. Gray property and the adjacent parcels. And also, since I last saw you, I met with the Recreation Committee, which you kindly referred me to them. And I did attend their last meeting, and that committee asked for some time to review the draft concept plan of the park and to have a further dialogue between them and the group. So that is moving on. Just to refresh your memory or to let other people know that the concept plan that I provided is really just a draft. There's some things on it that are truly not really necessary, I guess I would say. One is there's an ice hockey rink, and now I've since found out there are plans for an ice hockey rink has been constructed here on this property. So there are some changes that would be made. And once that's done, then we can finalize that. Also, the other things that have happened since I saw you last, our group has met via Zoom with State Senator Chloe Maxman, and I sent to her copies of my presentations that I made to you, along with a copy of the concept plan that I provided to you. And happily, Senator Maxman has given us her support and of our park project, and she gave us permission to use her name on this. So I wanted to be sure you knew that. And then that's not the last of it. This project has also been reviewed by the Trust for Public Land. And the Trust for Public Land, just in case no one knows who they are, it is a large national nonprofit that creates parks, and it protects land for people, ensuring healthy, livable communities for generations to come. And we have their support and have received a letter of support from their office. They have an office in Portland. They've done a lot of projects around the state. Too many to mention here, but it's a wonderful organization. And let me just read a couple of things that they said to us. First of all, just so you know, the Trust for Public Lands last year started a part of their mission, as I said, is to create parks. They want to create parks all across the country so that people have access within a 10-minute walk from their house. Now, that's pretty impossible in Waldoboro since we're so spread apart. But to have an in-town park in a small Maine town is a big deal. It's a big deal for them, too. So they said, when we heard what is happening in Waldoboro and your proposed plans for the A.D. Gray Park, we knew this project is a perfect example of what Maine needs and what Waldoboro needs. This project will be an example for other towns to follow too. So
I know I've gone over with you before what parks mean to so many people and what it can mean to our community too. So I want to give you a copy of this letter so that you all can have that. I was going to lick my finger.
I do the same thing.
I can't do
You
that.
shouldn't be doing that. That's why, isn't it hard though when you?
I know. I need one of
It is. How many times do you do that in a day?
Thank you. So, and I have copies for other people if you want. Maybe next one. I don't know. Let me see. So we formed a group. We've met with the Recreation Committee. We've met with Senator Maxman, which is very exciting. And we've received this support from this large organization. So what our group is offering to Waldoboro is a different path from what was suggested by the Volunteers of America. And given the progress that our group has made in the past couple of months, this project needs to be placed on the agenda for the next select board meeting in order for there to be a discussion. Ultimately, the matter needs to go before the voters to allow the voters to decide whether the parcel should be placed into a town-owned park. So this project, I need you to understand too, is time sensitive. I have been, as I believe I've told you before, and I think I've told Max too, that have been in contact with staff at the Augusta Bureau of Parks and Lands within the Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. And it is within that bureau that the outdoor recreation supervisor is the person who really manages the Land and Water Conservation Fund projects. And as I told the Recreation Committee, they were very good to meet with, I should tell you, that our project application needs to be presented by May. And so that requires the select board's really approval and cooperation. It doesn't mean that there has to be a town vote by then. In fact, as Max probably knows better than I do in terms of the actual process, there's a lot of paperwork to be done. But it is urgent that the town select board should table further discussion with Volunteers of America and move on this project. There are, as you can see, so far, there are enough people in our community who support this, along with our state senator and along with the Trust for Public Land. And so that's what I'm asking for tonight, that the project be placed on the agenda and that there be discussion at the next select board meeting.
All right. Is there any other citizen comments?
We're here to support her.
We're here to support her, but I was just,
Jeff, go up there, just so.
what's
Yep,
that?
you just go up to the lectern.
Oh, you want me to move?
No, you're fine.
You're good. No, just so that people can hear him.
It's more for him to be heard, not seen.
Oh.
Well, you can't even see him on the camera, so it's more for him to
He'll
be
picked
heard.
up on the report.
Anyway, I was just looking at just local Sproul Block and talking with the managers there. We have 3 or 4 buildings that aren't even, they're like 30% under occupancy as it is. You can go to Craigslist, as a matter of fact, and I have a great picture if you'd like to see it, of at least, 12, 14 units alone that aren't full. And then with the Volunteers of America said they couldn't even fill this building anyway, so I'm not quite sure why we need it, but that's, just wanted to share that. If anyone's not quite privy to that, so.
Yep. Cool.
Many units available.
All right.
I guess, and that's something.
Yep, go ahead.
My name's Dan Martone. I live across the street from 80 Gray. You guys were talking about attracting businesses and families to Waldoboro, and you can't read anything about parks without it mentioning that's exactly what parks does. It attracts families and businesses, so that's just my...
One last thing, sorry, do I have to go up there to say
Yes,
one
go
more?
up, Jeff. I'm gonna make you do it.
So
If you want to be heard, you're gonna be heard.
when we were talking about town parks, and I think some people up here said, oh, well, there's one across from the Hannaford. I was just driving there the other, I drive by all the time, as many of you guys do. When you're driving by, there's a nice big yellow sign that says no pets allowed. And that doesn't register to me as a park. With the small, with the location and then the abilities, I don't know that doesn't feel very parky to me. That's all I gotta say.
Well, I think that the no pets allowed was because of the issue with the high fecal content testing that we were doing for
we
the.
can't even bring them down to Pine Street Landing because all those dogs are contaminating that river.
Well, because the problem is that that's where the DMR tests.
Mm-hmm.
So it tests all the way up to the bridge.
Yep.
So that's part of keeping the flats open. And
Sure.
it may seem, it's important to the 132 families that.
It may be trivial to some people about the dogs, but the dogs are a high contributor to the pollution because
I'm with you.
they're 9 times higher than a human, believe it or not.
I'm with you. Just
And doing DNA testing, it was.
In my time downtown, I just haven't really seen that many dogs at that particular venue.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Bob.
The Bob.
George.
George.
We voted as a town and sort of approved in concept the idea of the 80 Gray plan for Volunteers of America, but there was never anything that I know of that was at all specific or how could we possibly compare 2 different destinies for that property without the details in front of us for both? Or do we have those details and I've just been watching television?
Right, you can watch it. Do you want, may I answer?
Sure.
Or what?
Go for it.
For what
Sorry,
part
point
of
of,
it?
point of order, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
yes.
This is a citizens' comment section of the.
Yes, this isn't really a discussion, it's just citizens' comments.
Important that George made the comment. It's not for discussion, but the input is important. The input is important, and it's something that we all have listened to and heard. Thank you.
Already, yeah.
Yep, okay.
Can I
All
add to that then, if that's
Nope.
the case?
I never thought of that as a park across from Hannaford. Picnic
I've
area.
heard that from, I think, everyone here, as a matter of fact.
I think they were talking about River Park, not the picnic area.
That was 1 of 2. that you guys-
No, it is a town
Yeah, I
park in town, yep.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Thanks.
I have a comment from,
Anybody from the internet world?
Yep, I just have one comment from Ruben Mahar, who is watching via YouTube. He actually posted a letter in the letter to the editor to the Village Soup regarding this matter. He was saying that Waldoboro would need more housing, not a park. Waldoboro already has a lot of great outdoor space.
Who is it?
Ruben Mahar.
He's a comment on YouTube a couple months ago too. And
He's the chair of the Communications and Technologies Committee. He was actually here the night you were, I think, initially presenting, and we had the UMO student. Do you remember?
No.
he did talked about the computer stuff and whatnot.
Right.
He also made a comment saying
okay.
that we could find another place for a park.
Is he a resident?
As well as we could get one place to somebody else to get them place else as well.
Yeah, we'll move along. No other?
that was it.
Okay. We'll move on to citizen, select board comments. Bob?
I guess it's me. I was going to ask Ruben to comment on this, but he's not present in the room via Zoom, so I'll do my best and hope I don't screw it up.
Well, you can ask and he'll probably respond in a minute.
Okay. There's a new technology out called Starlink. SpaceX owns it. And they're now registering Starlink.
Starlink.
They put satellites around the Earth, very close to the Earth. And I'm hearing that the speeds on this thing are 150 down and 30 or 40 up. I think Ruben will correct my numbers if I'm not exactly on the button with that. They're going through a beta phase of the technology right now. But it's worth looking into, especially people who do not have access to broadband in Waldoboro. All you need to do is go to the Starlink website and register. You give them your address and your zip code and your address and your email. And they're trying to gather data, and they're also encouraging people to sign up. It's come along a lot faster than I expected it would. I mean, I got an email back in November, I think, and I was under the impression it would be about a year before they even got this thing up and running. But they're already talking about a beta, and you can download software on your phone to begin to connect to this thing. So it's worth a look if you don't have access to the internet.
I had a funny
Jeff,
I just wanted to comment on that. What he's saying is interesting. Elon Musk owns 25% of all satellites in space. Yep. And it just reminded me, he's a really great James Bond villain to be kind of cool. Since he has all the satellites, it's kind of neat. I like that.
That's my comment.
You all set, Bob?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Colonel? Nothing. You got nothing?
Ruben said you did it all right.
Jan?
Thank you, Ruben.
No, I don't, but I think that, I find that quite interesting, about how quickly things.
They just launched a whole bunch of satellites, like 60 or 70 satellites, and they're supposed to do that many more, if not.
Yes, they are. They're going to have a whole network up there.
Katie, do you have anything?
Yes, I just want to give a shout out to the Public Works Department for clearing the streets with the last snowstorm and this storm and any more that's going to be coming our way. Good job, and thank you to everybody.
Okay, cool. Town manager's report.
I don't really have a lot this week. I was a little busy with some medical issues with my mother. But we are expecting snow again on Sunday, so that should be interesting. I would like to just remind everybody, if you haven't, the governor put into effect that you have to have your vehicles inspected and registered. So if you haven't done so, your time is up. So, and I want to remind everybody that you can use our online, the Maine Rapid Renewal to renew online. You don't have to come in. I did
There's
see
a link on the website, right?
There is links all over the website, and you also, we've been getting a lot of calls about vaccinations. Hopefully, from what I'm understanding, the community pharmacy will be starting a program. Again, it's based on availability of the vaccine. And also, I just wanted to announce the last meeting, we talked a little bit about Lincoln Health and their vaccination program. If you have not received a call, they have made it through, from what my understanding is, they've made it through most of the return calls. So I'm hoping, did you get your call from?
I actually, I registered probably 3 weeks ago.
And got your call.
And I got a confirmation. They'd received the registration. It was a robocall.
Correct.
And then I got a call. I was in the middle of a conversation and it said vaccination. So I hung up on the other person and took the call.
Right.
And they wanted to make an appointment with me, and I actually have the appointment tomorrow morning.
Wow.
And they give you like choices of 5 or 6 locations.
Correct. So they are getting there. So don't give up hope. If you've left a message, they are getting there, and that's the message that we.
Just patience is the watchword.
That's good.
That's
I got
the message.
It'll happen.
Oh, good. I think it was the day after you mentioned
You got one?
you got the confirmation. I got that the next day.
And I think George got one too.
I don't have an appointment.
But we've just, that's one of the big pressing issues, so that's where we are.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I guess you're all set?
I'm done.
Okay, we'll move right along. Consent calendar, would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
There is correspondence.
Okay, go right ahead.
Now, this is, it's a long one, but we talked about Waldoboro families, and this is the son of 2 science teachers, long-term science teachers, residents of Waldoboro. To whom it may concern, I am writing to thank you for the George Genthner Scholarship, which has made a large impact on my ability to pursue a career in medicine. In addition to all of the worldwide changes that happened this year, I also hit many milestones this year. In January 2020, I a study I had worked on for several years regarding eye complications of a rare genetic disease called epidermolysis, something like that, bullosa, was published in the Journal of American Academy of Dermatology. Just before the start of the pandemic, I officially finished my third-year rotations and began to focus on applying to ophthalmology residencies while continuing to conduct eye-related research and rotating with ophthalmology departments. I studied reasons that patients with glaucoma are lost to follow-up and implemented a program to re-engage these patients at the Leahy Clinic in Massachusetts, a study which is under review by the Academy of Research in Vision and Ophthalmology for presentation at their annual meeting. I spent a month living in Boston, working in the retina department at Tufts, followed by a month at Eye Care in Portland. During that period, I published 2 additional studies, one that I had also worked on several years, published in Ocular Surface, and 1 case study published in the Journal of Vitreoretinal Disease. I interviewed for ophthalmology residency programs throughout the late fall, receiving 18 invitations and attending 16 interviews. Additionally, because some ophthalmology programs do not include a built-in intern year, I interviewed at several medicine internships across Boston, including Mass General and Beth Israel. I recently found out that I matched for ophthalmology residency at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit. I am currently deciding between pursuing fellowship in training in either oculoplastic surgery or vitreoretinal surgery after completing residency. Either way, I hope to pursue this training in Detroit as my fiance is hoping to match to a general surgery residency in the area for about 6 years. At the end of our training, we intend to return to Maine to practice medicine. Thank you for supporting me throughout my undergraduate and medical education. Your financial support has allowed me to pursue opportunities that have greatly impacted my career opportunities and played a major role in my matching in one of the most competitive specialties at a respected program like Henry Ford. I cannot wait to begin training to become an ophthalmologist and will be sure to update you as I progress. Thank you. Sincerely, Calvin Robbins.
Cool.
So we can certainly be proud of some of our young
Send him a
people.
brochure.
His grandmother lives on Friendship Street.
Cool. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, we're on to new business. Promoting Waldeboro discussion.
Well, we kind of had that.
I think we've already done that.
It was a good choice for the EDC to come tonight.
Yeah, it was.
Yep. So do we want to move along? Yep. The board fine? Okay. The annual letter to DMR for about the town's rights to the river herring, alewives.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of projects going on.
We've got a lot of projects going on with this.
To revitalize that.
Correct. So
would you like to update everybody?
I would. I got a update from the Davis Fish Fund. So it does look like the dam off of 220 where in Washington, that everybody's up for removing that, which is great because that was one of the obstacles. The dam on the private property that's caused a lot of issues, the dam owner was sent a letter by DMR that it's going to have to be removed. And the Davis Fish Fund would like us to assist in just making sure that the DMR pursues that dam owner so that there can be assistance for that dam owner to remove the dam, because that would open up, those were the remaining, I believe, 2 obstacles. Yep. When they were here back in the fall talking about where they were. So that was good news. That was really good news. And also, there is movement now with I believe, the other pond here in town.
Washington. Oh.
No. They're revisiting that.
Stores.
So.
Little Madomic.
Yeah.
Noise Road, they're revisiting that culvert. So that's also good news. But what this letter does is it just preserves our rights. I just have to change February 2020 on the top to 2021.
And it's February 9th, not February 3rd, right?
I think this is when Tanya wrote it, but yeah, we'll take care of it.
Yes. She refers to a vote of the select board in the letter. That's
correct.
Yep.
So.
It's our annual letter.
It's our annual
We do it
letter, but
every
you do
year,
have to make a
just to keep-
motion
yeah.
for me to send it.
So
Would
moved.
somebody like to do that?
I'd
Bob?
like to make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The ordinance change for the shellfish ordinance. Would somebody like to set a date for a public hearing for this, which I've kind of gone through already?
Would you rather have that public hearing closer to the election, or does it not matter?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, then I move we have it at our next select board meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And I just want to point out that the last two ordinance changes were brought up by our newest members
Yep.
on the
Yes, they were.
Shellfish Committee meeting, that are harvesters.
And we forgot to put appointees back on here too. That's one of the other things we forgot. We get members, oh, we didn't have to wait.
We don't have to, because it's
Until
not
June.
until June. Here.
Right, sorry, never mind.
That's,
We did discuss that.
you did.
Discuss refinance project is coming back?
No,
Okay.
she's gone for the day, hopefully. I put my stuff too far away. So at our last meeting, we awarded our tax exempt principal bond, we accepted the bid to go to First National. After that, we discovered that we needed to do a taxable bid, a taxable proposal for the grader. So we rebid just the grader, the $274,000 portion. And we got two bids. One was from First National Bank for 3.34, and one was from Androscoggin Bank for 2.94%. Peg's and my recommendation, and the recommendation of our bond counsel, would be to go with the 2.94 from Androscoggin Bank. And one of the things this did is it took it from 13 years to 7 years, which is more what we had intended from the beginning. So we just need you to revote that portion of the refinancing.
So it's my understanding we also need to do something for the bond financing with the first, and that is to memorialize, if you
can
will,
memorialize, yes.
something for their documentation.
Correct.
So I guess.
Do you want to do two separate motions?
To make
I
a
even
motion.
had the attorney prepare what the proper motion would be.
You did?
It should be in
It's
your
right here.
packet, yes.
Yeah, I have it.
So do you want to do both at the same time, or do you want to do them separate?
I think two separate
He would
motions.
say two.
Okay, so would you like to make that motion, Bob?
Yeah, I'd move that we go with Androscoggin at 2.94% for the $274,000 financing of the grader. And that's a loan financing that we'd be doing with them, and it's not tax exempt.
Correct.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and what's the other one, Bob?
And the other one is a form of resolution that the First National Bank will require for their bond financing. And I would just recommend that rather than read it into the record, we simply note that it is to become a part of the record of this meeting. And I can summarize it by saying that we're authorizing the financing, that it is to be dated February 12th, 2021, that we're authorizing the town treasurer and the chair of our select board to issue the taxable general obligation bond in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed, I believe it's $1,070,000, not the $274,000 they have here, since this is the bond financing we're talking about. So the form of motion isn't entirely correct. The amount needs to be amended, I believe, Julie. Am I right?
I think you're confusing the two. The $1,070,000 is for First National, the 274 is for Androscoggin.
Understood, but isn't it the bond that?
They're both bonds, technically.
All right, but it's the first, sorry, I didn't mean to get into a discussion here, but when I read the documentation for the First National financing, they referred specifically to a motion of the select board.
A whole different set of documents.
Okay,
I have them right here.
but I haven't seen them then.
Correct.
All right, so,
The attorney sent them, we got them
right,
literally
so
at
the form of bond,
3:15.
of the form of resolution that I'm recommending we accept is for the $274,000 financing, sorry. And that it contains the information I just gave you, the amount would be correct, 274,000 at an interest rate of 2.94%. And that the board authorizes the signatories to do all things necessary to effect the borrowing.
Correct.
That's the essence of the resolution, and the motion is to accept the resolution in its entirety as prepared by the attorney and noted in the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We're saving money, it's a good thing.
Any more discussion?
It's a good thing.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Are you all set with that?
I am perfectly content.
So do we not have a resolution for the First National financing?
It's the motion, we handled that already, they're perfectly fine with what we did at the last meeting.
They're okay with it,
They are
okay.
very happy.
That's fine.
Does anybody have anything to go on the agenda for the next meeting? We have
Saran's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the public hearing for
on
the
the shellfish committee.
ordinance change?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else got anything?
Could we put some more discussion on promoting Waldeboro? Just, we heard a lot of talk, but could we do something where maybe we set up an action, like, like what we want to do, why, how, some of that sort of thing?
That sounds like a plan.
Colonel, got anything?
Do we want to do that after we've heard from the Economic Development Committee, Jan, or do we want to take the lead on that?
I think maybe we could take a lead,
Okay.
Yeah.
Katie, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay.
So you will be getting your budget books next week.
Wow. Whoa.
That's gonna be exciting, so just bear in mind that come March, pretty much Tuesdays and Thursdays will be budget, and more budget.
In March.
Okay.
That's good.
And I just encourage everybody, because we won't have another meeting, that meeting for the, revenue sharing is very important, if you guys can attend it at all.
Do you know this?
I will send it out to you in
Okay.
an email, but that's very, very important.
Yeah.
It's great they're guaranteeing us a percentage, but a percentage of what? And I'm
Yeah.
hoping that maybe that meeting's gonna tell us what it is. I called the state treasurer's office and I didn't get much guidance, and they're having a meeting, Zoom, join in.
Would it be possible for you or Tanny to send us the link?
I'm gonna send you the email that I got from
Alright,
Kate
okay,
DeFore
perfect.
from MMA.
Thank
So
you.
the dates that you had set up earlier
They're
for
good.
February vacation, that's next week.
The dates we had set up.
Yeah.
For what
You
vacation?
set up some budget dates.
That's all in March.
Okay, it's all March, so there had been some February ones, but they're,
Well, that's when you're getting your book.
okay, that's good. Good.
Yep,
Yeah.
good.
I believe they're all in March.
No, I guess we're all set. I guess we gotta move to convene executive session. Bob?
I'll move that we convene an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056C to discuss the acquisition of property.
Okay. I guess you guys are free to go.
Be safe driving home. I know you don't have far, but